In this video, we're going to take a look at which decks are winning so far in the Obsidian Flames format. I expect to see what impact Charizard has had on the metagame or not had. We're going to take a look through some of the biggest online tournaments. Obviously, we've got the late night ones we're going to start with. They've had over 100 players in them. So any tournament with at least 50 players in, and we're going to take a look at the lists, take a look at some changes Obsidian Flames may have made or not. So let's get into this one and start with late night 127. Okay, so let's take a look at these. As you can see in this one, Giratina absolutely dominating. We've got, in the top 8, we've got 4. We've got a God of War, which is fairly standard. We will take a look at the list to see if any new cards have snuck in. So it doesn't look like we've got any new cards from Obsidian Flames. It looks fairly standard to me. I mean, some of the cards maybe are slightly different to what we have seen before, but I don't think there's anything new in there. Slight drop to the path, so maybe not worried about stuff like Chempao. Like, super good into God. I don't know. I think 4 paths probably. It's just so detrimental to some other decks. I think 4 paths probably the one to go. And 2 water seems a very strange amount. Obviously, you need 2 for the Greninja play. And banking on it not being in the prizes or having to lost zone it or anything like that seems a little risky for me. I think you go for 3 or maybe just don't bother with Greninja and just up the other counts of energy. I mean, I prefer to have the 3rd energy. But yeah, I'd definitely go for the 3rd and another path there. Pokegear seems a strange one. But yeah, they've done quite well there. They've come out first of, I think it was 120 odd players. So obviously, Giratina is still very good in this upcoming format. Let's take a look at Lugia, see if there's anything new in there. Not sure what would be new. So yeah, seems fairly standard. The Kabalion. Okay, so it does extra damage to dark Pokemon. Yeah, you're not attacking with it, so you do 30 extra to dark Pokemon. What is that for? Your basic Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active dark Pokemon. I'm at a loss here. Let me know in the comments why that's in there. I guess maybe to knock out other Tyrannitars. Maybe to deal with Charizard, but I assume that's it. That's their tech for Charizard. But as we can see, there's not been a ton of Charizard in this tournament, but we'll take another look. Other than that, fairly standard. Take a look at God of War quickly. I don't think we're going to see much change there. No, that's a fairly standard God of War. We do see a Miraidon, which I'm actually quite a fan of. I tried to make it work when it initially came out. I was a big fan of it, and it's nice to see it have some impact now. This looks... I think it's Andrew Mahone's list almost to a T. I think it might be his full 60, to be fair. There might be 1 or 2 cards different. But yeah, it's a super consistent list. Just attack quickly, get the advantage, drop the path to the peak. Always seems to work. I don't actually see a Charizard. Okay, so there are some. We're just going to take a look at Chempao first because I obviously just made a video on this. I'm curious what kind of list they're running. So they have gone down the route of Pokestop and Cross Switcher, which I did play. I did think it's very good. Does mean you can run the 2 clones and get more use out of them. I'm not sure about researching the deck. I think you just maybe up the Iono count and boss there. I guess you don't need the... Yeah, definitely up the Iono. Vacuum's good. Only 3 Pokestops, fine. A 2-2 of Baxcalibur. I think that's really pushing it. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable playing that. Yeah, there's this... They could end up in the prizes. You've got no Galarian Heavy Ball. That's asking for trouble. I know you can use Palkia, but that could easily end up there as well. Yeah, there's a lot in here I'd probably change personally, but obviously it worked or did quite well, so this is one way to play it. I do like the inclusion of Bravery Charm because I do think that's a nice addition for Chempao, but yeah, interesting list for Chempao, definitely. Let's take a look at some of these Charizards. So let's get them both open and we'll take a quick look. So the first one coming in went 9-5 on the day. 3-3 of Charizard, the Arceus, and the Pidgeot, which is what we normally see. We do see a Radiant Heatran, though, with Magma Basin. So I'm not really sure about that, honestly. I prefer a different stadium. Don't think you really need Magma Basin. Obviously, you set up with the Charizards anyway. So normally that's how you're getting your energy in play. You don't really... I guess it's there for the Heatran, but It seems a little shoehorned into the deck, honestly. I think you'd probably rather go down the route of what stadium would you go in Charizard? I mean, Collapsed is okay. Yeah, I think I'd go Collapsed. You can get rid of your Squawkabilly and other stuff. Sort of slows down the Lost Boxes and other things and the Gardevoirs that need a full bench. I'd probably go Collapsed instead of Magma. But in general, I think this is what we have been seeing online. Yeah, I like 1 or 2 Turbo just to get Arceus attacking if necessary. Jacques is fine. I have seen that played quite a bit as well. 3 Iono. Yeah, this seems like a fairly standard list we've seen appear online a few times. Let's take a look at the other ones. So, too many tabs open now. Wow, this one... It took me a minute to adjust there. This one is wildly different. So we've got Radiant Charizard, which I like a lot more. We've got Delphox V, which I actually quite like. I think it does 120, 120, which is always good. Entei V is fantastic. Always good to put in there if you have the space. And I do think the Bibarel line is, yeah, it's important with a Mew. It's very difficult. Charizard has the same problems Chien-Pao does. Just what support Pokemon to put in there to really make it work. I prefer... I was going to say I prefer this list. I'd like to see the Pidgeot sneak in here. Maybe dropping the Mews and the Delphox. And just adding in some Pidgeot. Obviously, you got the rare candy anyway. So I just think it's very consistent. It helps you set up your Pidgeot early. And then you can just quick search for your Charizard. So yeah, it just makes it really consistent. You do get to play Forest Sealstone, obviously playing Delphox and Entei though, which is always a bonus, so maybe another Entei. Not sure about the worker, I guess Path is quite painful. Artisan and Mesagoza are other options for your stadiums. Probably much better than Collapsed, honestly. You do need to set up, so they're miles better. I had sort of a... Yeah, my brain gave up on me for a second there. Of course, that's what you play. There is the one Magma Basin again, which I don't mind the one of. I just think 4 of's quite... Yeah, it's quite strong when you do need to set up. This deck is all about setting up, very similar to Chien-Pao. So yeah, I think I much prefer those stadiums. I much prefer this list, honestly. But we will see what other concoctions of Charizard have been played. Now, there is just an Arceus here, so we're going to have a look at that. We'll look at Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, and then we'll have a look at a few more tournaments as well. So... the Arceus list is just straight consistency. 4-4 of Arceus and Arceus V-Star. 3-3 Bibarel. Got the Squova and Greninja as well. 4 Iono. I guess only 3 Path. I'd really like the 4th Path there. I'm guessing, yeah, Sharon's. We've got Poppy as well. Boss. Yeah, this deck's just looking to do what it needs to do and make it very difficult for you. So, hyper consistent for this deck. Slowing down your deck with Path and Iono. Yeah, I actually quite like this list. Consistency is king in Pokemon, and this deck definitely has a ton of that. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And then we've got... what was the other one? The other Chien-Pao. I'm a massive fan of Chien-Pao, massive believer in it, so I am excited to see these lists. Very light on Pokemon, I will say. I'd like to see a 2-2 Pidgeot at least. I play the Bibarel as well. Yeah, I don't... So the difference is he's getting cross-switcher and Pokestops. I much prefer this Skaters Park and thicker Pokemon line. I think both's fine. They've found room for 2 Iono as well, which is good. 4 rare candies, so there is a lot of advantages to this. Over my list, it depends how you want to play it, honestly. Not too different. Not too different. Yeah, this is what I like to see. I like to see some Chien-Pao. So let's move on to late night 1-8 and see how much that changed. So we have got the Lost Box instead of Giratina. There is a Giratina. Chien-Pao taking 3rd. That is what we like to see. Arceus, Giratina up there as well. Charizard 13th, which is still pretty good. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Lugia and Miraidon. There's even a Snorlax stall up there. You will notice we're not seeing much Mew. I don't know if that's because obviously Charizard is meant to be this big thing. A lot of people have just sort of strayed away from it. So this is Kyogre. I love this deck, but it's so taxing. I can't imagine just playing a tournament with this thing, honestly. I'll play it now and again for fun, because I do think it is a really rewarding deck. But yeah, for a tournament, bravo to this person, well done. It's such a taxing deck. There's so many small things that could go wrong. Okay, so we do see another one. Did I just open the same? Oh, yeah, I've opened the same list. Ignore me. Let's look at the next one. Just Giratina, fairly standard. Only 3 path, which again's fine. I mean, personally, I prefer the 4. I just think it's so crucial in most matchups, honestly. Not many things like being without abilities, so if you don't need them, it's always nice to take advantage of. Wow, Reveroom. I've not tested that. I've played God knows how many different Chien-Pao decks, and I've never tested Reveroom. I think it's interesting, but you're already throwing away so much energy. You got Greninja in there as well. You've got the attacks with Chien-Pao. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. Very situational. You do normally have energy, so you can get it off. It's just, if I'm throwing away energy, I want it to be with Chien-Pao for an attack, not to potentially draw some more cards. I think Bibarel just does it better. I do like Palkia in it. It's just, yeah, one of those things again. What list do you play? Mine is very similar to this. I don't know why you would go Beach Court. That's my only thing there. That only helps Chien-Pao, Greninja, Lumineon, Manaphy. So any of these could get stuck in the active. Reveroom is a worry. Skaters Park just does Beach Court, but better because you can just dump your energy in and retreat and get them back. So yeah, I'd probably go the 3 Skaters Park there instead of Beach Court. But yeah, nice to see more Chien-Pao. Always good to see more. Let's take a look at this Charizard list though. Okay, I mean, that caught me off as well. Lost Zone Charizard. We're bound to see it at some point. So there is a little control in this as well. We've got the Pokemon League headquarters and Ionos. You don't normally see many, if any, in Lost Zone. I actually quite like this. This could be interesting. You've got the Cramorants and stuff to attack early on, and then Charizard to finish the game off. So I like it. Yeah, I'm a fan of this one. I'm not sure why the 3-4. I'm just seeing if there's a reason. I don't think there's no reason. I was trying to think if there's a way like a Archie's or a Maxi that tricks Charizard into play, but of course there's not. I'm not sure about the count there, but other than that, really interested in this. It's nice to see people doing different things with Lost Zone. Obviously not needing Mirage Gates because just the one type of energy. Next up, we've got the Lugia. Let's see how this one's played. Okay, so this isn't going into... See, I prefer this over Single Strike, honestly. I do think there's stuff with Reversal and other things that can be done with Lugia that's slightly more interesting than Single Strike. Obviously, we've got the Luxray, which... Does it cheat into play? Yeah, put it onto your bench. You can skip the other evolutions. Lightning is a good attacker. Obviously, hitting into other Lugias. Some stuff like Palkia, Pidgeots if they get popular. So yeah, some good options there. We've got a Drapion, which is always good against Mew. And obviously we need to beat Path, so we got 2 Collapsed and a Pumpkaboo. Maybe like to see some search like Mesagoza or Artisan there, but I think that's fine. Otherwise, this Snorlax is super good. Obviously with, I think it's Therapeutic Energy. You can't fall asleep, so gets around his drawback. And 180 for a single prize, it is fantastic. So, yeah, I really like this deck. You've got Weird Ear to dive in if you need to. But yeah, a lot of love for this deck. So glad to see it placing well. Next up, we've got... Okay, so it is... I think it's the same again. There might be some changes. It's hard to remember from the top of my head. It looks very similar because I have built a very similar list. So just looking at these cards is stuff I've put in as well. Which I don't think is a problem. Obviously, if it works, it works. It's nice to see Miraidon and some other decks doing well. Now, this one is going to be a lot to digest. So it's a Snorlax stall. So the aim is to use block to trap them in the active. And then do stuff like Flannery. What else have we got in there? Misfortune Sisters. Obviously, Silene to just keep reusing stuff. We've got Bravery Charms to make some stuff a little tankier. Temple of Sinnoh. And then very few energy. Obviously not looking to attack much. You can attack with Mimikyu and take some prizes. But really, yeah, it is just about disruption. It's about slowing them down. But this looks at the top 5. Discard any number of item cards you find. Okay, so obviously some decks are very item heavy. We've seen like the Chien-Pao. Obviously just running them with Pokestop. So this could be very powerful. Flannery. I think it discards an energy and a stadium. Okay, so yeah, just looking to discard stuff, get rid of stuff. Echoing Horn, just fill their bench with stuff they don't want. We've got Pokemon catchers to trap them in the active. Yeah, this is going to be a very long day playing this deck. But yeah, control is always fun. It just keeps things in check. So it's always nice to see these pop up now and again. Obviously not nice to play them, so glad I wasn't playing in this one. What does this Manaphy do? Your opponent reveals a hand, put 2 basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench. Oh, that's really nice. So you can just fill their bench with stuff they don't want and then, yeah, just boss it up and trap it. This is it's a really nasty deck, but it's nice to see something a little different. So that's the 2 late night tournaments. Let's take a look at a few others. This one. So again, a bit more of a mix in this one. We've got a Mew appearing. We've got a Urshifu, Miraidon doing a lot better in this one, so let's check out those lists. Chien-Pao and Charizard, because there's so many ways to play them. I think they're the important ones to look at. So it's actually not even Fusion Strike Mew. It's a Path to the Peak, double turbo, very consistent. Just popping that up at the end of your turn. Got the lost vacuums to remove it when you need to. Yeah, it's very hard to play against. I think it is. I never thought we'd see Path to the Peak in Mew, so it is, I don't know, it's just a very interesting list. It always does well as well, so it just, yeah. Mew is so consistent, it can path itself at the end of its turn and find a way out of it. It's there's just so much you can do with Mew. Let's take a look at Urshifu here. So yeah, I don't see anything new from the latest set, just fairly standard stuff here, but obviously it always does well. Urshifu has had an impact for so long. Paired with Inteleon now, which is quite cool. We've got the Alakazam, that's such a nice inclusion, especially with Medicham. You can set up for some absolutely huge turns. Very combo specific, this one. You need to be really careful with where you're putting damage and when you're moving it and stuff. So yeah, again, one, I don't know if I would play in the tournament just because of the amount of decisions and micro plays that you need to make sure you're getting right. So well done to this guy. Nice to see, like I say, some different decks in the top. Just quickly looking here, that Miraidon is very similar. Let's take a look at the Chien-Pao then. 3-3-2. Whoa. Oh no, that always throws me off when there's different types of Pokemon. So there is 3 Frigibacks still. Got the 1 Arceus, 1 Mew. I do really like Mew in this as well, because obviously it finds a lot of stuff, especially if you're going down the Pokestop route. Obviously it gets a lot of those cards that you need. So yeah, I do like this combination as well. There's just so much choice when it comes to Chien-Pao. Same as Charizard. We're going to take a look at this one. So we've got the 4-1-3. I guess sometimes you don't want a rare candy. You maybe use them for Pidgeot. So I do like the Charmeleon in that case. Got the 2-2 Arceus and the Mew with the Radiant Charizard. The 2 Turbo, which I mentioned before, it does run 1 Magma Basin, which I think is fine. Set up Radiant Charizard, like I said earlier, and then the Artisan. This looks like the type of Charizard list I would run if I was going to run Charizard. I did just pull one, so there might be some Charizard stuff coming up. I'm definitely going to have to play this at some point on the channel. So yeah, this is going to be a very similar list to what I run. I think if you're looking at playing Charizard, go for something like this. It's super consistent. A lot of those cards you need to find stuff when you need it. I think the Starbirth with a quick search Pidgeot into the Charizard it's just so powerful. Arceus swinging for 200 with choice belts and vitality bands does mean you can get up to those numbers you need to on certain Pokemon anyway. Massive fan of this list. We're going to look at one more tournament though. What's worth going? Let's check the Mew. Let's see what Mew's doing good right now. That's just pure Palkia. We'll take a look at that. Just see if there's anything else standing out. We will take a look at Lugia just in case there's any changes. And other than that, see, when it says other, this always interests me. Now they went 3-4, then dropped. But we will take a look at it anyway. So the Mew is actually, it's gone for the Fusion Strike version, which I really like. What is this? Who snuck that in there? 120. It can be used for a single grass energy, which is nice if it moves from the bench, which in Mew you can definitely do that. I'm guessing that's in there for Charizard. Mew will definitely have a really hard time into Charizard. Obviously it can take a one-hit knockout straight away. It can with Vitality Bands or Choice Belts just knock out the Genesect without you having to take any prizes. So I think this is really tough into Charizard. One of the few decks that... Charizard is a good deck. I just think this in particular struggles with it. I don't know if this is a way to go though, because a one Shelmet is probably not going to survive the turn if that's your saving grace. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe get rid of those and then, yeah, it's looking like a pretty good list to me. Very similar to stuff I'm running anyway with Mew. I do like the one-off stadiums. I think I run 2-1-1 or something like that. Just so you've got the options. 4-path can feel restrictive if you can't find the things you need, but yeah, great list. Big fan of Mew. Fusion Strike Mew has always been the one I go to. I don't really play the other version, but let's take a look at this pure Palkia list then. So it has got 2 Chien-Pao, it's got the Bibarel, it's got the Spiritomb, which is a little cheeky inclusion there. Very similar to stuff we've seen. It does go Lost City instead of other stuff we've seen like Pokestop. I don't really like Pokestop. It's just you're asking for a good card to be thrown away, really. You're really pushing the limits. There's enough luck involved. I don't like Pokestop personally, but Lost City makes a lot of sense. Although, I guess you've got a thick line of Palkia to attack with. Your Spiritomb could leave play quite quickly, but it's really good into other decks which really rely on those things, like Gardevoir. So, yeah, that's a pretty interesting list. Take a look at the Charizard next. This looks very similar to the other one, but with the inclusion of Delphox. Like I said, I do actually quite like Delphox. 120, 120 goes really nice into like Lost Zone and stuff, where you can take a Cramorant and a Sableye or something. Yeah, I do really like that. Or if you've got a Vitality Band, you can do 130 to the active Greninja and then take out like a Cramorant on the bench. Normally numbers you can't quite reach, so I do like Delphox. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's just being shoehorned in there because it's a fire Pokemon. But yeah, it's nice to see it played anyway. Looking at Lugia, fairly standard. I mean, this is, yeah, almost a list I run entirely. The Cobalion, again, we do see that. The thing is, the Musketeer Pokemon are my favorite trio of legendaries, so the fact that we're seeing a Cobalion in play, I might just put it in for that reason. I don't know if Charizard is going to have the impact to make it worthwhile, but it is definitely there. There's not a lot of other dark stuff to attack into. Although there was a Darkrai EX leaked in the Pokemon, the new show Path to the Peak, which I've been watching with my 3-month-old daughter, so just get her into it early. But yeah, that's coming along, so this might see more play if we see Dark take over again. And then we're just going to look at this last list to finish off. Yeah, this has been 30 minutes already, so let's try and finish it off here. We've got a Glamora EX. I didn't really expect to see that. Let's take a look. As long as it's Pokemon in your active, your Pokemon can't have more than 3 bench Pokemon, which is absolutely crippling. Yeah, that's going to be really hard. There's so many decks in the format. There's Gardevoir, Lost Box, Chien-Pao. Like, literally every deck. Charizard needs a lot of bench space. So I can see why this is being played. Honestly, if we do move more into this Stage 2 era and we need all these Pokemon on our bench, we could see this played more, because that is a... yeah, it's a really nasty ability. It's like the old Roadblock Pokemon. Yeah, so that could be really painful. Just Path to the Peak as well. This is going full control here. We've got the Ionos. It's just going to be a nightmare to deal with. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play against this. I don't think it's going to be like a top tier deck, but it seems very annoying to play against. But that's what some of the best control decks are. But that's it. We've taken a look at a few of the biggest tournaments in the Obsidian Flames format so far. Let me know if you like any of these decks shown. Let me know if you want to see any deck profiles or anything on them in the upcoming videos. That's all I've got for this episode though, so I will catch you in the next one.